DJ, what would be the most depressing news between these two options? Option number one, let's say your kid was at daycare, he fell off some monkey bars, needed to get 17 stitches, like from his forehead down to his chin. That's option one. Option two, you're a New York Jets fan and you just found out that your owner is committed to Adam Gase through 2020. What is the worst news?
Obviously the Jets fan, because at least my kid will toughen up. That New York Jets team just going to be fucked through 2020.
This is the best thing that's happened as a Dolphins fan. I'm just like, you know what? I don't want Adam Gase on my team, but I kind of want him in the division. So let's get loaded because it's a reason to celebrate. And this is the Loaded Box Podcast,
where we never finish first because we finish last.
Oh, Jets fans, you just can't stop suffering. What in the hell is happening? The funny thing is, this is our gambling podcast. And spoiler alert, I'm actually going to bet on him this week. I can't believe that I'm doing this. What are you doing committing to Adam Gase for at least another year? What are they doing?
You know what they say?
What do they say?
The night is always dark. The night is always darkest before the dawn.
Is that even true, though?
I just wanted to say it.
Well, I'm just telling you what, it's dark times with New York right now, so maybe that's a thing. But as I said, this is our gambling podcast. The one that we did earlier this week was fantasy football focused. We talked start, sit, listener questions. We hit on our daily fantasy stacks, bargains, must use and avoid guys, just general fantasy advice. But this one, we are going to be going game by game, giving our straight up winners, giving our against the spread winners. We're going to be telling you which ones we are actually carding for the week. And DJ, last week, a little bit of an improvement. You finished 3-3. You ended up plus 1 unit. I finished 3-0, plus 5 units.
Nice.
I am now above 500 again for the season. I'm at 19-17 overall. You, on the other hand, you need a hell of a week. We're up to week 11 here, DJ. You're currently sitting 20, 32, and 1. My instant observation, maybe you're betting on too many games.
Oh, well. Dude, you know what they say? Like my friend Seneca the Younger once said, even while they teach, men learn. I'm just saying.
I thought they said it's always darkest before the dawn.
Well, there's so many things that they say, you know. I said, like Seneca the Younger, even while they teach, men learn. So while we preach and teach on this podcast, we're learning as well.
What I would love to learn is the spread of this first game I want to talk about. We were both looking it up beforehand. We can't find it anywhere. We're recording this on Wednesday night. It's Cowboys at Lions. We don't have a spread on it yet, likely due to the uncertainty of Matt Stafford playing or not. Do you want to do the guessing game to lead off with this one? What you think the spread might be?
We're going to play Guess That Spread.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I think they're doing this because of the Matt Stafford, but I think he'll clearly play this game. So Cowboys at Lions. I say Stafford plays. Spread is Lions minus 1.5.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a bold prediction. I think even if Stafford plays, I think Dallas is favored in this game. Give the Lions their 3 points. I think that the Cowboys are probably a good 6 points better than the Lions. I've got the Cowboys probably favored by 3 in this one. And honestly, I think I would take it. Like, I would love your line. But even if the Cowboys are favored by like 3, anything under 3.5, I think I would go Cowboys in this one.
Dude, Stafford has been balling this year. You never know what the Cowboys and Dak are going to bring to the table. Minus 1.5 Lions, nailed it.
The problem is if Stafford doesn't bring his back to the table, the dude's been playing with broken bones in his back. That sounds ridiculously painful. I don't know how you can do it. I actually think this is almost like a must-win game right now for the Lions. If they have any chance of making the playoffs, this is the kind of team that you're going to need to beat because they're clearly not going to win the division. They would need to try to battle for a wild card. They probably need to win out. I don't see that happening with or without Stafford. I think they have to play the safe card here. You got to look a little bit more towards the future, even if I don't know if Stafford's the future of that franchise. But I think I would go Cowboys. We won't spend a lot more time on it because right now we're just spitballing as to what we think the spread is. So let's go to a game where I know the spread. It's the New Orleans Saints at the Buccaneers. Saints are favored by 5. Over-under is 50.5. What do you have here, DJ?
So you have to expect expect after that dud that the Saints put up last week, that shit show that they did, a Packer-like shit show. You know what the Packers did when they bounced back against the Chargers? They went, I bet them, they covered the spread, boom, against Carolina Panthers, last second, not in the end zone touchdown. Honestly, it should have been, they should have scored the touchdown at the end of the half anyways. Just whatever, we're not talking about the Packers, we're talking about the Saints. It's going to be a bounce-back game. Saints -5. I love a good team bouncing back off a loss versus a Buccaneers secondary who's trash. Alvin Kamara has to get going, right?
Yeah.
Like he has to just go off at some point, and I think it's going to be right when the Kamara owners like need him to now and into the playoffs, or he just blows up. Hopefully they're in the playoffs because he hasn't had that great of a year.
Right.
But shit, right at the bat, I think me and you're going to be on the same side, even though you haven't given your pick. I'm going to have to throw this on the board.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Saints -5. I can't not bet a good team coming off of a loss.
I'm with you. I have the same exact reasons, and where I like Kamara is getting it done out of the backfield. We know that the Bucs are just terrible against the pass right now, and not that it's going to probably end up meaning anything, but Vernon Hargreaves ended up getting cut midweek. I believe he got claimed by the Texans today. I don't know if that makes him worse or not. It was hard to get much worse than like 31st against the pass. I think this is a huge bounce back game for Drew Brees. Kamara is going to make it happen. He's going to make it happen as a pass catcher. Only thing that would scare me maybe is this is a game that's on the road, a team that traditionally it's kind of like the Lions. They always look better when they play in a dome, but they haven't been as bad away from home as what they previously were, like early times with Drew Brees. They bounce back. They win against an inferior opponent. Stay under 7 on this one. I'm with the Saints. I have them for a unit. I'm carding this play.
1 unit means you're super confident. I'm going 5 units on every fucking game again. I got to get back in the black. I'm a little bit too comfortable with that. And I guess I am okay with it for this time just because of bounce back thing. And I know I always say I'm not comfortable unless someone's uncomfortable. I'm switching it here a little bit. But like my boy GWF Hegel said, only one man ever understood me, and he didn't understand me.
I have a feeling, because before this podcast, you said that you were up to something tonight. I think I've picked up on it already within the first probably 5 minutes. I'm going to give it one more game, and then I'm going to make a prediction as to what you are doing. But here's a game that I'm not comfortable with. Falcons at the Panthers. I've got the Panthers favored by 5, over under of 49.5. What do you have here?
All right. Falcons at Panthers -5, repeating what you said so that I can start to digest it as well, because I was just looking at my phone there for a second. We got, again, Panthers coming off a loss. Falcons coming off of a win. I've made this commitment to everybody in the entire world. Obviously not you guys yet, so I'm about to all our drunkies out there listening right now. #drunkies, let's bring that back. You gamble through it because I'm losing. All I'm saying is I'm going to keep betting against the Falcons because I'm gonna be right a majority of the time. I lost this last one. They came off a bye. They found a weakness. Don't let the Falcons trick you. That's what they do. They're going to trick you. I don't give a fuck who the Falcons played this week. They could be playing a combination of the worst Dolphins and Bengals players. I'd still take that team versus the Falcons. I'm taking Panthers. Again, another card of the game for me because I made that vow today that I will keep betting against the Falcons.
What would that team look like? That would be, remember a couple of weeks back, I said, you're going to watch a Dolphins game and you're going to say who 21 times. If you combined the worst players of the Dolphins and the Bengals, you would be watching like the equivalent of like a D3 football school where you have no idea who anyone is. I love that idea. We should definitely find a way to make that possible, NFL. I'm scared that I'm on the same page as you in this one for very similar reasons as well. It's, do the Falcons have the ability to get a win and actually carry it over and have a little bit of momentum versus, was that a total fluke game against the Saints? Are they going to come back to earth here? Are the Panthers going to have that bounce back win after a very close game against the Packers where they had a chance at the end on the road? Now they're returning home. They're playing against a team that has 2 wins, and they need to win by like basically a touchdown. I'm not confident enough in this one to card it, but I would say that I would take the Panthers both straight up and against the spread, not making it an official play though.
What did you say my record was and how many units I was down again?
For the season, you are 20, 32, and 1 tie, minus 36 units. However, it is a little bit unofficial. because you did hit that one money line, which would make your units not quite as bad as what they seem to be.
And I also said LSU money line sprinkle, but I didn't actually put it. But I said sprinkle the money line, which I did. But we're confident in what we believe when it comes to this. But honestly, like my favorite philosopher Bertrand Russell said, I would never die for my beliefs because I might be wrong, and that just ties in perfectly to what we're talking about right here.
I'm way too drunk to taste this chicken. I'm going to just let you keep going. I'm not going to ruin it. In case this is someone's first time listening and they think that you do this every single week, I'm going to let it happen. Let's go on to the next game. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's looking like Nick Foles is back in the mix at the Colts, where it's looking like Jacoby Brissett is back in the mix. You gave me this line. It was Colts favored by 2.5 with an over-under of 43.5. What do you have here?
So we got Nick Foles returning. We got maybe Jacoby Brissett returning. He wanted to play in that last game. He probably is. I would guess that T.Y. Hilton would also be playing. Is that a fair guesstimate?
I don't know much about him. I'll look him up while you talk.
This is a tough one. I don't know what to expect out of Nick Foles. He hasn't had time. I'm not going to... This is one of those lines where you don't know, you kind of want to stay away from it because you don't know how he's going to flow with the Jags. He played half a game.
Right.
That's just coming back. It's kind of a weird one. Maybe he'll be great. Maybe he'll just be terrible and the Colts will go off. And the Colts have been, both these teams have been two of the most confusing teams. Colts beat really good teams and then lose to shitty teams. You know what? I love difficult games, and I love to bet on them because the greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. But I am not going to jump on this game this one. I will lean Colts straight up and against the spread.
Part of what you're doing to me here is kind of worrisome, and it's bothering me a little bit because you pride yourself on making these game time calls, doing the eye test, not putting in the research on the stats. But I feel like you must have found a damn quote that relates to everything you're going to say. And I feel like all you've done this week, you haven't gone to work. All you've done is research quotes.
If you think I planned a single one of these, you're completely wrong, and I'm just off the top of the dome constantly.
Well, you are putting a piece of work together here. This is a masterpiece. This one has got me just completely just in a mind just roller coaster because I don't know what to think here because, like you said, Nick Foles has played a couple of quarters this season. Jacoby Brissett, yeah, he's probably going to be back. It doesn't look like T.Y. Hilton is going to play. It sounded like he was limited or he was sidelined. He didn't practice at all on Wednesday. Okay. So I wouldn't bank on that happening. God, this hurts me because I have a little bit more faith right now. I was going to say in the Colts offense, but I don't know if I do. And I was going to take the Colts in this one with Brissett being back. But I just remember watching the Jaguars, thinking that their pass rush is starting to come alive, thinking Leonard Fournette has been able to get it done against whoever the hell he wants. And honestly, at the end of the day, I believe, I don't know if you're on the same page as me on this one, I think Nick Foles is the right guy for the Jaguars right now. I know the Minshew mania blew up, and that was fun while it lasted. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, this is Nick Foles' job. As soon as this dude is healthy, I think they're going to be a better team. I actually thought I was going to pick the Colts here. I'm switching it. I'm taking the Jags. I'm not going to card it. But, man, on Sunday, if I get to, tip in a couple of beers back maybe on Sunday at some point, I might bet on this.
When it comes to this game, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. Just like the famous words of my boy Socrates.
Can you spell Socrates?
Just keep going. Let's go on the next one.
Broncos at Vikings. I hope this is some sort of Norwegian quote that you're going to be able to pull up here. But we've got the Vikings favored by 10.5 over under of 40. DJ, what do you have here?
The Broncos stink. They have fucking Brandon, one of the 5 Allens that are playing in the NFL at quarterback.
It's amazing.
I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball.
Right.
At all. I don't imagine. Vikings have one of the best defenses in, every category there is, right? All around. They're just good at everything. They're good at stopping the run. They're good at getting the passer. They're good in the secondary. They're just pretty good at everything. And I don't know how the Broncos are going to move the ball like
Right.
past the 50-yard line. I can't imagine this being close. 10.5 points for me in the NFL is too lazy, or too many points to lay for me. I hate the Vikings. And I can control my passions and emotions if I can understand their nation, their nature. Sorry, fuck that up.
The pressure mounted. You couldn't come through.
And I understand their nature here for these Vikings. -10.5. I would have to lay it just because I don't see how the Broncos are going to score, and the Vikings probably will score a couple times. Kirk Cousins will suck, but I just don't see, unless it's defensively, I don't see how the Broncos score a touchdown.
Yeah, I have to agree with you here. I'm going Vikings straight up and against the spread, but I'm not going to card it. The thing that's really confusing to me about this one is, what do you got? You got something that really shocked you, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm going under 45 units.
Didn't say a word. Didn't say a word about the over, under, or anything. And now it's just like 5 units, man. I'm maxing it out.
Got it.
Wait, you were under or over?
Under, duh.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought you said under. I wanted to clarify for the listeners. Where I was going with this one was, as soon as Brandon Allen was named the starter in that game against the Browns, I was like, yeah, I think the Browns are favored by 3 or 3.5 in that game. I thought it was easy money. I put like 3 or 4 units on that game. Brandon Allen pretty much shocked us all. The offense actually didn't do a lot, but it did enough. Here's the thing, though. Vikings are a much more complete team than what the Browns are or were at the time. It's a home game for the Vikings. The thing that scares me from this one would be the hook, so I wouldn't make an official play on it. But man, I just see this kind of being that like slug it out game where they could win by like 7 to 14 points. They're going to win the game is my take. I just don't know that they're going to be able to win by enough. And I like what you said about Kirk Cousins. I'm in a league with you. I literally had no faith in Kirk Cousins this week against a defense that's not like a complete rollover. I ended up streaming Derek Carr. I picked him up on the free agent wire, and I'm going to go with a guy that doesn't have the boom potential like Cousins has, but I just feel like he's going to be so much more consistent than Cousins. I think this is a Dalvin Cook type of game where the Vikings win, but it might not be very pretty.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. That's why I'm going under 40. I just think it'll be like Big Ten football, punt, pass, punt. Run, punt, run, throw the ball, run, punt. Just like that, pretty much. It'll be how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I spoiled this one already. I told you I'm going to bet on it. It's actually my biggest unit play of the week. It's the Jets at the R words. We got the racial slurs favored by 1 with an over-under of 39.
All right. I don't know why in any fucking world you would bet on a game like this, because this is one of those games where you're watching Red Zone and it just doesn't ever show up.
No.
It just doesn't show up because nobody cares and nobody scores. It's how it's going to go.
Side story about that. Remember in week 1 when the Dolphins played the Ravens and it was just over before it started? I had multiple people text me and say that Dolphins Ravens isn't on Red Zone. And I thought it was just a joke that the Dolphins were doing that bad. No, the cameras just weren't working for Red Zone for that game. That's what's going to happen in this one. Red Zone does not want to make people's eyes bleed with the Jets and Redskins matchup.
Ugh, these white girls, you can't control them.
No, you can't. DJ's having marital issues right now, I think.
Yeah. Did I make a pick in this game? Oh, man. I thought we were done talking about it. I was so happy to be over it. I thought that was the end of this conversation. Jets. I believe in Sam Darnold. I don't believe in Adam Gase, but the Redskins are awful. So I'm going to go Jets just because it's basically a pick-em. So Jets it is.
I never thought I'd see the Redskins favored in another game this year. Like, what have they done to warrant being favorites in anything? Their one win was against the Dolphins when the Dolphins were like starting to get competitive against teams. This Jets team, we saw what they can actually do a little bit in that last week's game. Granted, it was against the Giants, but guess what? The Giants are better than the Redskins. It doesn't matter. The defense can show up. We saw, what's his face? Jamal Adams. We saw him literally just take a ball away from Daniel Jones and house it in that last game. Yeah, I'm not a huge Sam Darnold guy, but I think he's better than what we're going to see out of Dwayne Haskins this week. I actually don't think this should be that close. I can't believe the Redskins are favored for that. I have to put 2 units on the Jets. My most confident game of the week.
You know what I love about our gambling podcast more than like the other ones out there?
Probably
Everybody tries what?
I say if you're gonna say something like that, you gotta at least let me guess.
Go for it.
Probably the fact that we incorporate beer drinking and philosophical quotes on a game by game basis.
It's like we don't like look at the stats and try to come up with a reason all the time like most of the other podcasts do, because honestly we are too weak to discover the truth by reason alone.
So I was right.
I'm just saying, it's just facts. Like, we go out there, we look, we think these other podcasts, they can be right looking at statistical data. That's just, we're too weak. Just too weak.
So I have a guess as to what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I think you got it already.
I feel like you may have hired your wife to listen to what you say for your breakdown, and then she finds a quote that matches as to what you're doing. Am I close?
My wife has nothing to do with any of this. She's just doing the dishes while I try to podcast here.
Bills at Dolphins. We got Bills by 6. Over under a 40.5. What do you have here?
This is another game we have to talk about.
I can't wait.
The college football slate's one of the best college football slates I have seen in a long time, and I'm dealing with Jets versus Redskins, Bills versus Dolphins, like Cardinals are fine. Bengals versus Raiders, like give me a break here. I have to deal with that on Sunday. Awful. All right, the Dolphins. What are they? Like the best team in the NFL right now?
Yeah, at least.
They're gonna be third in like the division if they keep it up here.
The funniest thing is, if they wouldn't have blown up the roster right before the season started, they'd be one of the helmets that you see when they talk about teams that are eligible for the wild card.
I mean, in the AFC, they're still in the hunt at least until week 15.
Not gonna lie, I had to second take it last time they saw it, just because I wanted to see if they put the Dolphins in there with 2 wins.
They have to. The AFC's everybody's in it, except for the Bengals, I think, is the only team that's probably eliminated at this point.
Probably, yes.
God, I can't imagine the Dolphins keep winning. They cannot go on a 3-game winning streak.
That's true.
Ryan, did I see Josh Rosen get in the game for a hot minute last week?
It's kind of a long story. Yes, he ended up handing the ball off 3 times due to the neutral medical examiner forcing Ryan Fitzpatrick out of the game.
So they didn't even let him throw the ball. What a bunch of asshats.
I am not happy about it. Anyway.
I think they're literally just doing whatever they can to not play him so they can keep him as a backup, just in case.
I would be all about that.
So anyways, this is tough.
Actually, I think they're gonna re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick to like a 3-year extension and just piss us all off.
That makes sense because it makes no sense. The Dolphins have been playing a defense pretty well. The Bills have been playing defense pretty well. So who can out-defense the other? I'm not going to card anything in this game. I don't even like the over-under because like they could accidentally score a bunch of the Bills, and the Dolphins could score a couple touchdowns, and that would confuse me. So I'll go Bills both ways in this game. It's about time the Dolphins get blown out.
God, you would think so. I'm not carding this. I'm going to go Bills straight up. I'm going to go Dolphins against the spread here. Anything, if it could get up to like 7, I actually would maybe consider carding it. But I've talked about this a couple of times. When I watched the Bills play the most this season, it was that first game against the Dolphins. And I just wasn't as impressed as I thought I was going to be with that defense. Now you are back in Miami. Miami is playing with just loads of momentum right now. I don't understand it. I didn't see this coming. I thought it was going to be like a never-ending battle trying to keep that locker room together. This might be the strongest I've ever seen the Dolphins come together. I never anticipated that happening. I don't think this is going to be like any of those blowouts that we saw earlier in the year. The Bills' offense still isn't anything you want to have to rely on. So them for a touchdown on the road against any team in the NFL is going to be tough. I'd like this more if it was at 7, but I would take the Dolphins still at 6.
That's just gross. That's just honestly, that's disgusting. That you would take the Dolphins. I don't know if you're getting like Stockholm syndrome or something.
I'm gonna have to Google that one, but if it means falling back into the same trap that I always fall into with the Dolphins, maybe that's right.
It's like you fall in love with your captor. Like you start to side with the person who's taking you hostage. The Dolphins are taking you hostage, and now you're falling in love with them. You have Stockholm syndrome. Like, this is a classic case of Stockholm syndrome is what you have.
I've got a brilliant idea now that you have that. I am going to get Stockholm put on the back of a Dolphins jersey, and I am going to wear that every Sunday.
I mean, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. And that Stockholm syndrome is something I actually knew and talked about and is in a philosophical quote. But it feels like you have it right now.
Consider me diagnosed. Texans at Ravens. We got the Ravens favored by 4. A lot of people are saying this is the game of the week. I think it's Bills Dolphins, but a lot of people think it's Texans Ravens. We have the Ravens by 4, over under a 49.5. What do you have here?
I talked about this game. I'm going to card this game. I really like this. It feels like everybody's going to be on the Ravens. The Ravens are the hot team. Everybody loves Lamar Jackson. I think. Oh, the Texans are coming off a bye too, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
They're 100% coming off a bye. The Ravens are hot. They're the hot team. Everyone's going to be on the Ravens. I'll say it afterwards. I love the Texans this game. Love them. They can stop the run. I think they force Lamar Jackson to have to throw the ball a little bit more than he wants to, which I told you he just can't do. He's just not a successful thrower. If you go look at the stats, it's undeniable. He's not good at throwing the football, period. There could be a good amount of scoring in here, but I actually think it's going to go less than what you think. I would like to. I might parlay the under. I might do what I did in the Bears game here and parlay the Texans, the under, go Texans money line as well. But I love the Texans this game, plus the 4. Give me that for 5 units. Put it on the board.
Oh, Dan, you got a carded play here. I'm not going to card this one. My initial reaction was similar to yours. I was initially thinking the under, but then I'm just like, God, if they can't stop Lamar running, if they do allow him to pass when they're expecting to run, and they score points and it becomes a shootout with him and Watson, it's something I didn't want to be a part of, so I'm not carding this one. I am going to take the Ravens straight up, but I think this is going to be like a 1 to a 3-point game. I think it is going to live up to the hype. I just think it's going to be super close, and I think the Texans can hang within 4. So I'm with you on that. It just always seems it's this time of the year. We live in Wisconsin. It's snowing today. It's cold. Baltimore is this time of the year. It always seems like November, December. That is a terrible place to have to play for a team that's typically used to playing indoors in Texas. That could be a terrible situation for them to have to go into. That's the biggest thing that's keeping me away from this right now. It's not necessarily Lamar Jackson and their offense that's been like pretty damn good with all the uncertainty that they have with the way they run the ball and the way they can sprinkle in the pass. It's more so like the home field advantage in this one. If it was in Houston, obviously the spread would be different, but I would be super comfortable taking the Texans in this game. But for that reason, I'm out. I can't do it.
I actually just added another little line on here. I am throwing the Texans money line to give me some more units. I'm sprinkling that one. That's a 1 unit bet. Plus 185, the Texans. I fucking love it. And honestly, all I'm going to do is, like Gabriel Ross said, ride the energy of your own unique spirit.
That one's deep. I'm going to think about that one.
I'm just riding my energy right now. I'm feeling that game. The energy feels good around that one. I feel really confident with that pick. That actually is my favorite pick of the entire. We haven't gotten to the end. It's already my. I'm telling you right now, there's no pick that's going to top that one as most confident picks. This might be my pick. This is my guarantee of the year. This is my
shit!
Year, 2019 NFL football season guarantee. Win it. That one is $1 million winner.
The spread or the money line?
The spread.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it's clear. DJ has announced his game of the year. I'm pumped. You usually don't do a game of the year. I thought that was only me.
Of the year. I just decided this is it. This is like you lock this in. If I lose this, I don't know what I'll do, but I will do something.
What a great thing to be able to say. Just got people on the edge of their seat. Oh my God, I wonder what TJ's going to do. He's probably going to read some biblical quote is what he's going to end up doing. Oh, this next game on our list, I feel like this just happened like 2 weeks ago. Cardinals at 49ers for the second time, I believe, in about 3 weeks. 49ers are at home this time. They're favored by 11. Over under a 45. What do you got?
Oh, shit. We already moved on from that game. All right. The Cardinals played the Niners tough. I remember actually bet the Cardinals, I believe, in that game, and they ended up backdooring the Niners at the end of that game. That was great. I love coming in the back door. Niners are coming angry. I'm not going to card this. Too many points to lay, so I do still think Kyler Murray could probably score some points at the end. Are you looking at Mel?
Yeah.
I think they can score some points at the end and make this within 10 points. Somewhere in like a 7-point range here, where it's like they got beat by more, but they were able to stay within our spread. So I would definitely not lay the 11 here. Take the Cardinals against this plus the 11, but I would still think the Niners are going to win after coming off that loss. They got some tough games coming up. It does seem like a weird little trap game because they have more really tough games coming up. They've got the Packers Sunday night. Next week, which was flex to that.
That's right.
Which really could fuck with them in this game. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take the Cardinals against the spread here. I still think the Niners will pull this off, but
yeah, as DJ said, I'm holding Mel Kiper hostage in my basement, so I do have Mel here. Yeah, this game scares me a little bit because last time, I think it was a Thursday night game. I bet on the 49ers. I was feeling okay, and then all of a sudden, Murray hits that Isabella on a fairly simple pass, and he just took off and outran everybody, and no one could get him. So yeah, I think that left me with a sour taste, and I think that's why I said that I was going to take the Cardinals against the spread in this game. I am going to take the 49ers straight up, but not carding it. I don't have a great feel on this one. It just seems like the Cardinals are going to be that team they're not going to win a lot of games. They're going to be in a lot of games because when spreads are this big, you can you could be down by like 10 to 14 points consistently throughout the game. It can be in total control, and a team can score at the end like what they did in this last one. The Cardinals just feel like that kind of team right now. So I couldn't imagine taking this game against the line. I don't want to spend too much more time on it just because of how uncertain I am. If I had to make a pick, I would take the Cards against the spread in this one.
You have to. I would actually. It's just a lot of points. I don't think the Cardinals are any good. But like you said, and like I said, with the coming off a tough game, going into a good game, you're never out of a game where you're taking the dog at 11-point spread because you always had that backdoor. And there's nothing better than the positivity of having the opportunity to still backdoor a game. Like you always have positivity until the very last second of the game because a fumble can happen. You can just get some garbage score. That doesn't matter. Like there's no better feeling than thinking, well, shit. I'm still close enough to get that back door here. Like, you're never out of it. It's like with the over in a football game. You can score 14 points in the first half. You still have the chance that you can score a lot of points. And over and betting an under, you can just die on immediately. The over is never dead until, like, the end. Like, there's always hope. It's nice to hold on to hope, at least until the fourth quarter. And with big dogs and overs, you always have hope.
You started about 3 sentences there in that last part that I thought were going to be like these historical, memorable quotes, and then they ended up just being your own.
I know, I could see it in your face, but I'm just going.
There's nothing more satisfying than knowing that you can always win an over because there's always points to be scored.
Well, I had to just tell the truth because, like, sometimes you just have to explain the life of a degenerate, and we get the feeling. And people could I'm not trying to, but it's like the best thing to relate to is when you actually talk about it, and then people can relate to us like, dude, he knows what I'm going through, which shows that we're degenerates. Like, that's what we do. We live the life. We all go through the same thing every Saturday and Sunday. We're in this together. Let's get a freaking prayer group together, and let's all come together Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings, and pray together, and then live life.
My favorite thing.
Go to bed.
I'm pretty sure that my favorite thing is betting on the college game that goes into overtime, where you need to cheer for your team to get it into overtime, but then you need to cheer for the other team to only get a field goal, and then you need your team to get the touchdown in order to like cover. Or once it goes into second overtime, you need to start cheering for the other team to match your team what they do, and then in the third overtime, you need your team to score a touchdown, but you can't let the other team score to tie it. There's nothing better than that. That is my favorite one. That's why I want the NFL to turn to college overtime rules. It makes everything just so brilliant. I don't care how long the game takes. If it's in overtime, I'm here all day.
I saw some idiot tweet like, "Oh, this is why NFL overtime is the best of all." It's like no, because if Russell would have scored on that first possession, it's over. Nobody gets the opportunity to answer. The team that scores or gets the ball first scores like 90% of the time or something like that and wins. Like, it's done. I just made that percentage up, but it's got to be high. And that doesn't make any sense. Why does the game come down to a coin toss? That will never make sense to me ever in the history. The fact that you can tie, there's that opportunity is dumb. It's 2019. You should have been tying for the last 20 years.
Right.
And two, the fact that both teams don't get opportunities that they're playing such a tough, reckless game the 4 quarters, you're just going to give it to the team and let them win. Just one team based off of a coin flip.
Yep.
I don't get it. And Geno Smith said heads, clearly.
Patriots 3.5 at the Eagles, over under a 44.5.
Oh man, I just want to talk so much shit about the Patriots right here.
Is this the toughest game on the slate for you this week? This was the toughest game for me.
This is really hard because that's what she said, and I just don't understand. I haven't seen enough. The Pats just got ruined against Baltimore, against a team that can play and is competent, has a quarterback that can run all over them. Carson Wentz is another very good quarterback. Don't get it twisted. Carson Wentz is a great quarterback. Probably the toughest quarterback, like the actual toughest pure passing quarterback the Patriots have had to face to this point. I'm going to side with the Eagles against the spread, and I think they may win the game. Just because I think the Patriots are going to come back to reality for a couple games here, and I think it's just happening it's going to happen against these quarterbacks. I'm not betting it because it's kind of like, I don't know, envy against the Patriots at the same time.
Yeah.
But I just think the Patriots, I need to see them beat good teams before I pick them in these tough matchups where they're not favored by 11.5 like they were for 9 straight games.
This is my least confident game on the entire schedule. So no matter what I say here, you may not want to listen to me just because I'm that uncomfortable. But if I had to go against the spread, I probably would take the Eagles. There's so much uncertainty with them as well. One week, this has kind of been the MO for the Eagles, like in recent history. One week, they look like a playoff team. They look like a team that can compete with anyone. The next week, it's like, what do they have going for them? Like, they just look totally lost. I hate that, especially against the team like New England. The Patriots, like, you think the Patriots are going to lose 2 in a row? Like, that also just kind of blows my mind here. And with it being only, it's 3.5, I just don't see the Patriots losing again. But 3.5, I could see them winning by 3. I just think it's going to be a close game. And because I'm so uncertain, that sort of makes me think that I'm that uncertain for a reason, and it's because the teams are pretty close when you're in Philly, when it's those circumstances. So against the spread, yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles, but I'm negative units confident in that. Like, I wouldn't card that for the life of me. There's 0 chance.
What time is that game?
What time? That's like a 3:30 game.
Well, it's not a guarantee that I bet that. Only guarantee if it's Sunday or Monday night.
Yeah, we got one more before the Sunday night. It's the Bengals at the Raiders. Raiders are favored by 10, over under a 49.
I mean, the Raiders could win this game by 40. Like, I think they're a pretty good football team. The Bengals fucking stink. They don't care. There's not analysis that needs to go in here. If you take the Bengals in anything right now, it was like taking the Dolphins in those first 6 games or whatever. You're just an idiot. Like, Raiders minus. There's no thinking. Just Raiders minus 10.
What's the
bet
thing?
it if you want. Don't bet it. I'm not gonna card it right now, but it just doesn't make any sense to go any other way.
No, I'm not carding it either. And here's the thing: are the Raiders, should they be favored by 10 really against anyone? Probably not. The thing that scares me here is their defense. It can be okay and sometimes, but it's not like a shutdown defense. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Mixon ran for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns finally. Like, had like a breakout week. Here's the thing though. I can't bank on that. Like, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not banking on it. And I don't see the Bengals really slowing down Josh Jacobs. And if they do, guess what? Derek Carr is going to end up having a field day against them. This should be a 14 to a 20-point game at best for the Bengals. I don't think they can keep it within that. I was almost tempted to take the Raiders in this one. Sort of talked myself out of it, though, just because I'm not 100% sold on the Raiders defense right now. And it's the NFL, man. Things surprise you every once in a while.
The Raiders actually have a really good run defense. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Teams typically have to throw on this football team in order to like succeed a little bit easier, and the Bengals just aren't going to be able to run against the Raiders. So yeah, I don't think the 10 is that hard of a lay.
We see it every once in a while though. Like the stats, they are what they are, and you can't really dispute them. But every once in a while, a guy ends up having that unexpected good game. Like everyone would say that.
Not a Bengals.
Dude, everyone would say that the Bears have a great defense, and Latavius Murray put up like $120 and a couple of touchdowns against them a few weeks back.
Bengals are decimated, but the Bengals, not a Bengals guy. Like Joe Mixon can't run right now behind this offensive line, and he's certainly not going to do it against the Raiders.
Well, he finally did last week. That's what I'm just saying. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. He has the talent. They have the ability to. I'm not banking on it. I give it like a 10% chance, but that's why I'm not betting on it.
Like, he has the talent, but the fact that you just said they have the ability really just made me sick to my stomach.
Well, they did it last week. That's what I'm going on.
They don't have the ability to do anything besides wipe my butt.
That doesn't even make sense.
That's all they got their ability to do.
Who
they
made
should all
that?
quit their job and take my bedpan out.
Who made that quote? Socrates?
I think, therefore, I am. That's all I know.
Sunday Night Football, Bears at Rams.
Hey.
Rams are favored by 6.5. We have an over-under of 41.5. What do you have here, DJ?
This is a fucking disaster.
It really is.
Sunday Night Football game. They should move the Pats. This should be flex. Can they flex this league? Pats Eagles should move to Sunday night, and Bears Rams should move to noon.
Dude, but this was supposed to be a good game. Like, this was supposed to be teams that were on the top of their division, competing for like not only the division but maybe even like a bye in the playoffs. And now you have two teams who are just hanging on.
But there's a reason the Packers and the Niners got flexed to Sunday night, because the game that was playing on Sunday night was supposed to be a game, but that's why they have the flex rules. It could be a good game, but it's not going to be fun to watch. Like, it could be a
That's why you bet on it.
It could be a close scoring game, but it's not going to be a good game. Let's put it that way. Because those are two completely different things.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect great football in this game. I'm just saying, this is your chase game. It's the one before Monday night. You can take a little damage. You can add a little bit more to your funds.
I mean, under 41.5. I don't even know which side to go on here. If it was a pick 'em, I still wouldn't know who to pick. Like, I don't trust Jared Goff right now in the Rams. The Bears are decimated defensively. Danny Trevathan just broke his arm. They have some other guys out. Like, they are kind of getting decimated defensively, right. So their defense is going to be a lot more weak, which would make me start to lean. Now I'm talking to myself. If I had to make a pick, I would lean the Rams both ways just because how decimated their defense is, the Bears. And you would think the Rams can get it going a little bit offensively. And there's no way the Bears are going to – I mean, they're just not a scoring football team. They're just not going to score often. And they're going up against friggin' Aaron Donald, and everybody forgets, but Jalen Rams.
Yes.
Get it?
Yeah, I got that. You didn't need to spell it out.
I didn't spell it. I just yelled really loud. I would give the lean to the Rams here because of that reason.
You sort of talked me into the under here, but going into this, I have a 1-unit play on this, and I'm going to go with the Bears. I watched enough of that Rams-Steelers games last week to know that this Rams team is just struggling right now. And if you can, they can't get the ground game going. Like, Todd Gurley is nowhere to be found. If you can take Cooper Kupp away, this offense just becomes so limited. And guess what? They just lost one of their offensive linemen for the year and another offensive lineman for at least this week. The Bears might have these injury woes on defense. They're still better than 75% of the league. I think they're going to eat that line up. I wouldn't be surprised if they outright won this game. I am going to go a unit. I am going to take the 6.5 points. It feels a little bit to me like that Monday night game when it was Seahawks and 49ers, and I saw 6.5, and I'm like, that's just way too much. I think this team, the dog, could win outright. So for that, I'm definitely taking this, and I'm carding it.
I know, that's why I said the pick 'em, but then I thought about the Bears defense and how many guys they're missing right now, and it's actually, I can see why the spread's that way.
Yeah. Well, we got one last chase game, so if you don't want to do it on Sunday night, that's what you got Monday Night Football for, and it's a dandy. Patrick Mahomes, most exciting man in the world, favored by 4 at the Chargers. We have an over-under of 52. Go, DJ.
I mean, it's another good team coming off a loss. Mahomes looks healthy. already. He's jumping around. He's
Oh
acting like
yeah.
an idiot. I don't think there's any way they lose to the Chargers in this game. I'm not gonna card this one. I think I'm done carding for the day. I've already got fives. But when I do bet this, I will end up betting the Chiefs -4 for sure. For sure. I'm not sure on what side of the over/under I will, but I will. I'm telling you right now, I will end up betting the Chiefs -4 in that game. There's just no way they don't cover this game.
That's what I was going to ask you because I have a unit on the over in this. I do like the Chiefs straight up. I lean with the over though, but what would potentially scare me here is it was a couple weeks back. I said I was high on the over when the Packers played the Chargers, and that game couldn't have really gone any more under. Like you never had a chance of hitting that over. Is there a chance where the Chargers defense can show up in this game and limit Mahomes to like one or two touchdowns? They haven't gotten necessarily the ground game going the way it is. Could you see this being like a 17-21 game, or do you think it's the Chiefs that are shooing for 30 points?
I mean, yeah, 17-21 is a little low, but I don't know. I think they can contain them. Like, I'm not how I felt about how everybody felt about Pat Mahomes last year. He's definitely come back to earth like everybody predicted. That's what he's gonna do. Um, he's a little bit of a wild man, Patrick Mahomes. You don't know what he's gonna do. He's unpredictable. Sometimes it's not so great. So I can see, turnover city, but I just think he's gonna be too locked in for this game. He'll put up some monster numbers here against the Chargers. There's just not enough I like about the Chargers right now to even consider betting them. Besides it being after week 8, but I can't jump on the Chargers. The home game isn't a home game, right? So
Right. Oh, it's like the farthest thing from a home game when it ends up being the
yeah,
Chargers. I would say in like the last 5 to 7 years, this is probably the least I've actually liked the Chargers. I've always been like, you know what, they have the ability. Philip Rivers can get it done. End of the game. Melvin Gordon's like that stable running back. I was always like, Chargers, man. Chargers are going to be a good team. They're going to win the division. I was picking them to win against the spread most weeks. This is probably the year where I have the least faith in them. So I almost want to just take the Chiefs in this one, but God, we've seen the Chiefs defense. They can't stop anyone. Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler could both run for 100 yards in this game, and they could still lose. Like we saw it with Derrick Henry last week. The dude wasn't getting touched till he was 5 to 6 yards past the line of scrimmage most of the time. It didn't matter. The Chargers are going to be able to do what they want as well. So I think I'm just kind of reassuring my over bet here more than anything because end of the day, I think the Chiefs, if they get into a shootout, they're going to score. It's those games that are closer where you see their offense struggle a little bit. I just don't think they have the ability to stop anyone right now. So with that, I think the Chargers score 24 to 28 points. And if the Chiefs are going to win by 4 in this one, they're going to have to score into the 30s. So for that, this game is going to go over. I'm putting a unit on it.
putting a unit on the over. That's a big over for the NFL. That's a giant.
It is.
Over.
Yeah.
I'm too scared of it. But I'm definitely betting the Chiefs. No doubt in my mind.
DJ, do you have any last words of advice or old Socrates quotes that you want to get off your chest before we head into week 11?
I thought you said soccer tees. I'm just going to go write my start and sit on article. I don't feel like it. It's going to be short, but it's going to give you the answers that you need. Because honestly, who really reads the words? Go over to loadedboxpodcast.com. Check out my article. Start 'em, sit 'em. It's time to win.
Like he said, check out that website. Check us out on Twitter at LoadedBox. We'll be back next week. Couple of Week 12 preview episodes of both fantasy and gambling. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube. DJ, send us in to Week 11. I can't wait to see what the hell you've got on your mind here.
Bye.
Hyphen DJ.